Hello. Thank you for stopping by. This is my second try tonight. I was right in the middle of reading, going along, and my baby reached up and somehow shut down the stream. I do not know what happened. I could not figure out how to fix it. So I had to delete it and start over. So, whoops. You're a stinker. Yeah, you're a stinker. Yay. No, that one, I think that one's dried out. You can take that one. Nice. Anyway, yeah, that was dumb. So we're starting over. 10 minutes in. Okay. So now we'll go into all this again. What did you have for dinner? I always like to ask just for ideas, for fun. Throw it in the chat. What did you have for dinner? Or, lunch or whatever meal it is where you're listening to this. We had burritos. I made chili the other day, so I had corn tortillas, so we did the, cheese and seasonings and green chilies and chili and made burritos and lemon parsley rice and steamed carrots and peas, and it was super yummy. It was really good. And then I made a sauce to go on top, and it was like ranch. It was kind of like a ranch, but I put red hot sauce in it and cumin in it, so it had a more Mexican flavor. It was really good. It was so good on the burritos and on the rice too, actually. That was yummy. Okay, and then showing off some things I've made. All these things are for sale, like, this necklace I'm wearing. I did actually make this particularly for stuff like this outfit I have because I didn't have anything blue. But I make it. I make this stuff. So I made these, and these are adorable. Look at these. Tiny little heart earrings, super sparkly. I don't know if you can tell quite how sparkly those are, but they are so sparkly, and they're tiny little hearts, so you can see, how small they are up against. So cute, adorable. Perfect for Valentine's Day. And then these, I've mentioned before how popular these little bottle earrings have been. Tiny little bottles. Look how cute these are. The kind of pinky purpley, you can see how small they are. So cute. So you can see up against me about that size. So cute. I love the little bottles. And then I also have done post earrings. I don't do them a lot because the dangly ones are funner to make. They're more fun. I enjoy making them. So I don't do a lot of these, but I do have a few, and these have real dried flowers in them. So you can see the little white and the red flowers. So this is kind of like Valentine's stuff, right? My purple and pink stuff, because yesterday was Valentine's Day. So in honor of Valentine's, the red and pink cute stuff. Okay, so those are some things I've made, and the post ones have actually been fairly popular at the shows and events and stuff. So I probably should do more of those. Of course, I haven't been doing shows and events lately, but I am starting to do shows, like craft shows and fairs and stuff. But for Cutco, I sell Cutco, and I'm a little torn because I love doing my jewelry and stuff at these fairs and events, and it doesn't ever make great money, right? It's not a great income, but it's so fun, and I love it, and I love selling them, and you meet a lot of fun people, and you make good contacts, and you sell some, and it's really fun. But I'm going to start doing these shows. I have a big fair at the end of the month that it's 3 days I'm going to be doing. And I'm quite torn because I kind of wish I could do a booth with Cutco and a booth with my jewelry stuff. Yeah, I'm one person. I can't do it all. But I wish I could do that. I would love it. It would be fun. So I'm going to be doing that. Something to look forward to. Kind of stressful. Don't know if I'll be reading on those days. Oh, actually, I won't be because the fair is in the evening. So it goes like from 5 to 10 at night. And that's usually when I read. So the 3 days of the fair, the last 3 days, I think it's the 29th. No, the 27th, 28th, and the 1st, I think. Something like that. I probably won't be doing this. Just letting you know ahead of time. Of course, I didn't do it yesterday either because we were doing a whole Valentine family game night with chocolates and hearts and playing games, and it was so fun. We had such a good time. Okay, so back to the story. This is Evelina, Volume 2, Letter 15. And the poor girl, she's stuck with her relatives. And it's her grandmother's relatives. I think Mr. Brington is her nephew. So then, yeah, it's kind of they're distant cousins to Evelina, but man, they are miserable, very unpleasant people, trashy people, kind of. Poor girl. Okay, Evelina in continuation, Holborn, June 17th. Yesterday, Mr. Smith carried his point of making a party for Vauxhall consisting of Madame Duval, Monsieur Dubois, all the Branghtons, Mr. Brown, himself, and me, for I find all endeavours vain to escape anything which these people desire I should not. There were 20 disputes previous to our setting out. First, as to the time of our going. Mr. Brangton, his son, and young Brown were for 6 o'clock, and all the ladies and Mr. Smith were for 8. The latter, however, conquered. Then, as to the way we should go, some were for a boat, others for a coach, and Mr. Brangton himself was for walking. But the boat at length was decided upon. Indeed, this was the only part of the expedition that was agreeable to me, for the Thames was delightfully pleasant. The garden is very pretty, but too formal. I should have been better pleased had it consisted less of straight walks, where grove nods to grove, each alley has its brother. The trees, the numerous lights, and the company in the circle round the orchestra made a most brilliant and gay appearance, and had I been with a party less disagreeable to me, I should have thought it a place formed for animation and pleasure. There was a concert, in the course of which a hautboy concerto was so charmingly played that I could have thought myself upon enchanted ground. But I had spirits more gentle. Had I had spirits more gentle to associate with, the hautboy is in the open air is heavenly. Mr. Smith endeavoured to attach himself to me with such officious assiduity and impertinent freedom that he quite sickened me. Indeed, Monsieur Dubois was the only man of the party to whom voluntarily I ever addressed myself. He is civil and respectful, and I have found nobody else so since I left Howard Grove. His English is very bad, but I prefer it to speaking French myself, which I dare not venture to do. I converse with him frequently, both to disengage myself from others, and to oblige Madame Duval. He was always pleased when he is attended to. As we were walking about the orchestra, I heard a bell ring, and in a moment Mr. Smith, flying up to me, caught my hand, and with a motion too quick to be resisted, ran away with me many yards before I had breath to ask his meaning, though I struggled as well as I could to get from him. At last, however, I insisted upon stopping. "Stopping, ma'am," cried he. "Why, we must run, or we shall lose the cascade." Now, I'm not sure what this cascade is or what this whole thing at Vauxhall is. I kind of want to look it up and see what it is. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll repost this after the live and add in some if I find it interesting enough and put it up like a split screen and show what the cascade is, because I don't know what that is. And then again he hurried me away, mixing with a crowd of people, all running with so much velocity that I could not imagine what had raised such an alarm. We were soon followed by the rest of the party, and my surprise and ignorance proved a source of diversion to them all, which was not exhausted the whole evening. Young Brangton, in particular, laughed till he could hardly stand. The scene of the cascade I thought extremely pretty, and the general effect striking and lively. But this was not the only surprise which was to divert them to my expense, for they led me about the garden purposely to enjoy my first sight of various other deceptions. About 10 o'clock, Mr. Smith having chosen a box in a very conspicuous place, we all went to supper. Much fault was found with everything that was ordered, though not a morsel of anything was left. Hey, Caden, what are you doing? I'm nervous. What you doing, baby? What you doing? Smiling and just keeps on doing what he's doing. And the dearness of the provisions, which conjectures upon what profits was made by them, supplied discourse during the whole meal. When wine and cider were brought, Mr. Smith said, "Now let's enjoy ourselves. Now is the time, or never." Well, ma'am, and how do you like Vauxhall? Like it? Cried young Brainton. Why, how can she help liking it? She has never seen such a place before, that I'll answer for. For my part, said Miss Brainton, I like it because it is not vulgar. This must have been a fine treat for you, miss, said Mr. Brainton. Why, I suppose you was never so happy in all your life before. I endeavoured to express my satisfaction with some pleasure, yet I believe they were much amazed at my coldness. Miss ought to stay in town till the last night, said young Brainton, and then it's my belief she'd say something to it. Why, it's the best night of any. There's always a riot, and there the folks run about, and there's such squealing and squalling, and all the lamps are broke, and the women run skimper-scamper. I declare I would not take 5 guineas to miss the last night. I was very glad when they all grew tired of sitting, and called for the waiter to pay the bill. The Miss Braintons said they would walk on while the gentlemen settled the account, and asked me to accompany them, which, however, I declined. You girls may do as you please, said Madame Duval, but as to me, I promise you, I shan't go nowhere without the gentlemen. No more, I suppose, will my cousin, said Miss Brainton, looking reproachfully towards Mr. Smith. This reflection, which I feared would flatter his vanity, made me, most unfortunately, request Madame Duval's permission to attend them. She granted it, and away we went, having promised to meet in the room. What are you doing? He has a book, and he's just looking at it so sweetly, but I'm just so worried he's just going to just suddenly rip a page up. But he's being so cute. Caden. He's just being so darling, just looking at this little book. He's so cute. He's got his legs spread out, and he's got the book in between, flipping the pages. What's so funny? What's so funny? What are you laughing at? What are you laughing at? Oh, you coming over? You coming to say hi? Yeah? You coming to say hi? Oh, what do you see? Oh, you have a hair on you. Ooh, yeah. What? You want this one? Okay. What is it? You're so excited. To the room, therefore, I would immediately have gone, but the sisters agreed that they would first have a little pleasure. And they tittered and talked so loud that they attracted universal notice. Why, Polly, said the eldest, suppose we take a turn in the dark walks. I do, answered she, and then we'll hide ourselves, and then Mr. Brown will think we are lost. I remonstrated very warmly against this plan, telling them that it would endanger our missing the rest of the party all the evening. Oh dear, cried Miss Brainton, I thought how uneasy Miss would be without a beau. This impertinence I did not think worth answering, and quite by compulsion I followed them down a long alley in which there was hardly any light. By the time we came near the end, a large party of gentlemen, apparently very riotous, and who were hallooing, leaning on one another, and laughing immoderately, seemed to rush suddenly from behind some trees, and meeting us face to face, put their arms at their sides, and formed a kind of circle, which first stopped our proceeding, and then our retreating, for we were presently entirely enclosed. The Miss Braintons screamed aloud, and I was frightened exceedingly. Our screams were answered with bursts of laughter, and for some minutes we were kept prisoners, till at last one of them, rudely seizing hold of me, said I was a pretty little creature. Terrified to death, I struggled with such vehemence to disengage myself from him that I succeeded, in spite of his efforts to detain me, and immediately, and with the swiftness which fear only could have given me, I flew rather than ran up the walk, hoping to secure my safety by returning to the lights and company we had so foolishly left. But before I could possibly accomplish my purpose, I was met by another party of men, one of whom placed himself so directly in my way, calling out, "Whither so fast, my love?" that I could only have proceeded by running into his arms. In a moment, both my hands, by different persons, were caught hold of, and one of them, in a most familiar manner, desired, when I ran to next, to accompany me in a race, while the rest of the party stood still and laughed. I was almost distracted with terror, and so breathless with running, that I could not speak. till another, advancing, said, I was as handsome as an angel and desired to be of the party. I then just articulated, For heaven's sake, gentlemen, let me pass. Another, then, rushing suddenly forward, exclaimed, Heaven and earth, what voice is that? The voice of the prettiest little actress I have seen this age, answered one of my persecutors. No, 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 I panted out. I am no actress. Pray let me go. Pray let me pass. By all that's sacred, cried the same voice, which I then knew for Sir Clement Willoughby's. 'Tis herself. Sir Clement Willoughby, cried I. Oh, sir, assist me, or I shall die with terror. Gentlemen, cried he, disengaging them all from me in an instant, pray leave this lady to me. What are you doing? Loud laughs proceeded from every mouth. You want to see the picture? Oh, you like it, huh? He likes books. He loves them. Are you mama's boy? You like books, don't you? Me too. I love books. You're making it very difficult to read. He loves the picture on the front. Look at it. What do you see? Oh my goodness. Loud laughs proceeded from every mouth, and you're making this really hard. Mama. I love you. Yeah, I love you so much. Yeah. And two or three said, Willoughby has all the luck. Yeah. But one of them, in a passionate manner, vowed he would not give me up, for that he had the first right to me. Oh, thanks for the loves. Oh, you're so silly. Not that one? For he had the first right to me and would support it. You are mistaken, said Sir Clement. This lady is. I will explain myself to you another time, but I assure you, you are all mistaken. And then, taking my willing hand, he led me off amidst the loud acclamations, laughter, and gross merriment of his impertinent companions. As soon as we had escaped from them, Sir Clement, with the voice of surprise, exclaimed, My dearest creature, what wonder, what strange revolution has brought you to such a spot as this? Ashamed of my situation and extremely mortified to be there and recognized by him, I was for some time silent. And when he repeated his question, only stammered out, I hardly know how, had lost myself from my party. He caught my hand and eagerly pressing it in a passionate voice said, Oh, that I had sooner met with thee. Surprised at a freedom so unexpected, I angrily broke from him, saying, Is this the protection you give me, Sir Clement? And then I saw what the perturbation of my mind had prevented my sooner noticing, that he had led me through, though I know not how, into another of the dark alleys, instead of the place where I meant to go. Good heaven, cried I, where am I? What way are you going? Where, answered he, we shall be least observed. Astonished at this speech, I stopped short and declared I would go no further. And why not, my angel? Again endeavoring to take my hand. My heart beat with resentment. I pushed him away from me with all my strength and demanded how he dared treat me with such insolence. Insolence, repeated he. Yes, Sir Clement, insolence. From you, who know me, I have a claim for protection, not to such treatment as this. By heaven, cried he with warmth, you distract me. Why, tell me, why do I see you here? Is this a place for Miss Anville, these dark walks, no party, no companion? By all that's good, I can scarce believe my senses. Extremely offended at this speech, I turned angrily from him, and not deigning to make any answer, walked on towards that part of the garden whence I perceived the lights and company. He followed me, but we were both sometimes silent. So you will not explain to me your situation, said he at length. No, sir, and bear this strange manner of speaking. It made my very soul shudder, and I burst into tears. He flew to me and actually flung himself at my feet, as if regardless who might see him, saying, Oh, Miss Anville, loveliest of women, forgive my I beseech you to forgive me. If I have offended, if I have hurt you, I could kill myself at the thought. No matter, sir, no matter, cried I. If I can but find my friends, I will never speak to, never see you again. Good heaven, my dearest life, what is it I have done? What is it I have said? You best know, sir, what and why, but don't hold me here. Let me be gone, and do you. Not till you forgive me. I cannot part with you in anger. For shame, sir, cried I indignantly. Do you suppose I am to be thus compelled? Do you take advantage of the absence of my friends to affront me? No, madam, cried he, rising. I would sooner forfeit my life than act so mean a part. But you have flung me into amazement unspeakable, and you will not condescend to listen to my request of giving me some explanation. The manner, sir, said I, in which you spoke that request made and will make me scorn to answer it. Scorn! I will own to you I expected not such displeasure from Miss Anville. Perhaps, sir, if you had, you would less voluntarily have merited it. My dearest life, surely it must be known to you that the man does not breathe who adores you so passionately, so fervently, so tenderly as I do. Why then will you delight in perplexing me, in keeping me in suspense, in torturing me with doubt? I, sir, delight in perplexing you. You are much mistaken. Your suspense, your doubts, your perplexities are of your own creating, and believe me, sir, they may offend, but they can never delight me. But as you have yourself raised, you must yourself satisfy them. Good heaven, that such haughtiness and such sweetness can inhabit the same mansion! I made no answer, but quickening my pace, I walked on silently and sullenly till this most impetuous of men, snatching my hand, which he grasped with violence, besought me to forgive him with such earnestness of supplication that, merely to escape his importunities, I was forced to speak, and in some measure to grant the pardon he requested, though it was accorded with very ill grace. But indeed I knew not how to resist the humility of his entreaties, yet never shall I recollect the occasion he gave me of displeasure without feeling it renewed. We now soon arrived in the midst of the general crowd, and my own safety being then insured, I grew extremely uneasy for the Miss Brangdons, whose danger, however imprudently incurred by their own folly, I too well knew how to tremble for. To this consideration all my pride of heart yielded, and I determined to seek my party with the utmost speed, though not without a sigh did I recollect the fruitless attempt I had made, after the opera, of concealing from this man my unfortunate connections, which I was now obliged to make known. She just doesn't want him to know who she's with, even though she doesn't like him. I hastened, therefore, to the room, with the view of sending young Brangton to the aid of his sisters. In a very short time,
Well, excuse me. Would you like to get up and say hi?
oh, you want me to come with you? Where you going? What are you doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
He's so dang cute. Oh my gosh. I hastened, therefore, to the room with the view of sending young Brangton to the aid of his sisters. In a very short time I perceived Madame Duval and the rest looking at one of the paintings. I must own to you, honestly, my dear sir, that an involuntary repugnance seized me at presenting such a set to Sir Clement.
Where are you going? Where are you going?
No. He's so noisy.
What are you doing? My goodness, you're so noisy.
What's the matter?
I bonked him.
Oh, did you get a little bunk? You're tough.
No.
Yeah, you're tough. Are you tough? He's making this very difficult.
Where are you going?
You're so loud.
You're so noisy.
Oh, such a pill. Oh my goodness, he is making this very.
What are you doing?
You're making it very hard to read, you know. Come here. I got you. Oh, their sister. Oh, maybe ask Charles if can he open it for you. Do you want some? Okay, Lisa, we'll go peel that orange. Yeah, go with her. She'll get you some. No, you just want mama. Never mind. Okay. Yeah, you're making it very difficult to read. You know that. You're making it very difficult. Yeah. Oh, thanks for the hugs. I love you so much. You're so silly. Oh, you're getting down after all. Okay. See ya. Bye bye. Bye bye. Oh, what a handful. Oh. I hastened therefore to the room with the view of sending young Brangden to the aid of his sisters. In a very short time I perceived Madame Duval and the rest looking at one of the paintings. I must own to you honestly, my dear sir, that an involuntary repugnance seized me at presenting such a set to Sir Clement, he who had been used to see me in parties so different. My pace slackened as I approached them, but they presently perceived me. Ah, mademoiselle, cried Monsieur Dubois, and then some French stuff that I can't speak, so I'm not even going to try. I would sound terrible. Pray, miss, cried Mr. Brown, where's Miss Polly? Why, miss, you've been a long while gone, said Mr. Brangton. We thought you'd been lost. But what have you done with your cousins? I hesitated, for Sir Clement regarded me with a look of wonder. Pardi, cried Madame Duval, I shan't let you leave me again in a hurry. Why, here we've been in such a fright, and all the while I suppose you've been thinking nothing about the matter. Yeah. You want this one? It can tickle. Tickle. Oh, if I let you take it, you'll make such a mess. Right, here. I'll take this out because that's dangerous. And the rest of it, you're just going to unload and make a huge mess with it. Oh, well. At least maybe you'll be happy and I can finish. And then have a big mess to clean up. It's the only way to get anything done around here. Let him make one mess while you clean up another. He's such a handful. He's so darling. Okay. Well, said young Brangton, as long as missus come back, I don't mind, for as to Bid and Paul, they can take care of themselves. But the best joke is, Mr. Smith has gone all about a-looking for you. These speeches were made almost in a breath. But when at last they waited for an answer, I told them that in walking up one of the long alleys we had been frightened and separated. The long alleys, repeated Mr. Brangton. And pray, what had you to do with the long alleys? Why, to be sure, you must all of you have had a mind to be affronted. This speech was not more impertinent to me than surprising to Sir Clement, who regarded all of the party with evident astonishment. However, I told young Brangton that no time ought to be lost, for that his sisters might require his immediate protection. But how will they get it? Cried this brutal brother. If they've a mind to behave in such a manner as that, they ought to protect themselves, and so they may for me. Well, said the simple Mr. Brown, whether you go or not, I think I may as well see after Miss Polly. The father, then interfering, insisted that his son should accompany him, and away they went. It was now that Madame Duval first perceived Sir Clement, to whom, turning with a look of great displeasure, she angrily said, Ma foi! So you are come here, of all the people in the world. I wonder, child, you would let such a... Such a person as that keep company with you? I am very sorry, madame, said Sir Clement in a tone of surprise, if I have been so unfortunate as to offend you, but I believe you will not regret the honour I now have of attending Miss Anville when you hear that I have been happy as to do her some service. Just as Madame Duval, with her usual ma foi, was beginning to reply, the attention of Sir Clement was wholly drawn from her by the appearance of Mr. Smith, who, coming suddenly behind me and freely putting his hands on my shoulders, cried, "Oh ho, my little runaway, have I found you at last? I have been scampering all over the gardens for you, for I was determined to find you if you were above ground. But how could you be so cruel as to leave us?" I turned round to him and looked with a degree of contempt that I hope would have quieted him, but he had not the sense to understand me, and attempting to take my hand, he added, "Such a demure-looking young sorry, such a demure-looking lady as you are, who'd have thought of you leading one such a dance? Come now, don't be so coy. Only think what trouble I have had in running after you." "The trouble, sir," said I, "was of your own choice, not mine," and I walked round the other side of Madame Duval. Perhaps I was too proud, but I could not endure that Sir Clement, whose eyes followed him with looks of the most surprised curiosity, should witness his unwelcome familiarity. Upon my removal, he came up to me, and in a low voice said, "You are not, then, with the Mervyns?" "No, sir." "And pray, may I ask, have you left them long?" "No, sir." "How unfortunate I am! But yesterday I sent to acquaint the captain I should reach the grove by tomorrow noon. However, I shall get away as fast as possible. Shall you be long in town?" "I believe not, sir." "And then, when you leave it, which way, will you allow me to ask, which way shall you travel?" "Indeed, I don't know." "Not know? But do you return to the Mervyns any more?" I I can't tell, sir." And then I addressed myself to Madame Duval with such a pretended earnestness that he was obliged to be silent. As he cannot but observe the great change in my situation, which he knows not how to account for, there is something in all these questions and this unrestrained curiosity that I did not expect from a man who, when he pleases, can be so well bred as Sir Clement Willoughby. He seems disposed to think that the alteration in my companions authorizes an alteration in his manners. It is true, he has always treated me with uncommon freedom, but never before with so disrespectful an abruptness. This observation, which he has given me cause to make, of his changing with the tide, has sunk him more, in my opinion, than any other part of his conduct. Yet I could almost have laughed when I looked at Mr. Smith, who no sooner saw me addressed by Sir Clement, than, retreating aloof from the company, he seemed to lose at once all his happy self-sufficiency and conceit, looking now at the baronet, now at himself, surveying with sorrowful eyes his dress, struck with his air, his gestures, his easy gaiety, he gazed at him with envious admiration, and seemed himself, with conscious inferiority, to shrink into nothing. Soon after, Mr. Brown, running up to us, called out, "La! What, ain't Miss Polly come yet?" "Come," said Mr. Brankton. "Why, I thought you went to fetch her yourself, didn't you?" "Yes, but I couldn't find her. Yet I dare say I've been over half the garden." "Half? But why did you not go over it all?" "Why, so I will, but only I thought I'd just come and see if she was here first." "But where's Tom?" "Why, I don't know, for he would not stay with me, all as ever I could say, for we met some young gentleman of his acquaintance, and so he bid me go and look by myself, for he said, says he, I can divert myself better another way, says he." This account being given, away again went this silly young man, and Mr. Brankton, extremely incensed, said he would go and see after them himself. "So now," cried Madame Duval, "he's gone too. Why, at this rate, we shall have to wait for one or another of them all night." Observing that Sir Clement seemed disposed to renew his enquiries, I turned towards one of the paintings, and pretending to be very much occupied in looking at it, asked Monsieur Dubois some question concerning the figures. "Oh, ma foi!" cried Madame Duval, "don't ask him. Your best way is to ask Mr. Smith, for he's been here the oftenest. Come, Mr. Smith, I dare say you can tell us about them." Why, yes, ma'am, yes, said Mr. Smith, who, brightening up at this application, advanced towards us, with an air of assumed importance, which, however, sat very uneasily upon him, and begged to know what he should explain first. For I have attended, said he, to all these paintings, and know everything in them perfectly well, for I am rather fond of pictures, ma'am, and really, I must say, I think a pretty picture is a very, is really a very, is something very pretty. So do I too, said Madame Duval. But pray now, sir, tell us who that is meant for, pointing to a figure of Neptune. That, why, ma'am, that is, well, Lord bless me, I can't think how I came to be so stupid, but really I have forgot his name, and yet I know it as well as my own, too. However, he's a general, ma'am. They are all generals. Uh, it's funny. These are famous paintings, and he has no idea what they are. I saw Sir Clement bite his lips, and indeed so did I mine. Well, said Madame Duval, it is the oddest dress for a general ever I see. He seems so capital a figure, said Sir Clement to Mr. Smith, that I imagine he must be a generalissimo of the whole army. Yes, sir, yes, answered Mr. Smith. Excuse me. Goodness, I've got the sneezes this evening, answered Mr. Smith, respectfully bowing, and highly delighted at being thus referred to. You are perfectly right, but I cannot for my life think of his name. Perhaps, you may remember it? Not really, replied Sir Clement. My acquaintance among the generals is not so extensive. The ironical tone of his voice in which Sir Clement spoke entirely disconcerted Mr. Smith, who, again retiring to an humble distance, seemed sensibly mortified at the failure of his attempt to recover his consequence. Soon after, Mr. Brangton returned with his youngest daughter, whom he had rescued from a party of insolent young men, but he had not yet been able to find the eldest. Miss Polly was really frightened, and declared she would never go into the dark walks again. Her father, leaving her with us, went in quest of her sister. While she was relating her adventures, to which nobody listened more attentively than Sir Clement, we saw Mr. Brown enter the room. "Oh, law!" cried Miss Polly, "let me hide myself, and don't tell him I'm come." She then placed herself behind Madame Duval in such a manner that she could not be seen. "So Miss Polly is not come yet?" said the simple swain. "Well, I can't think where she can be. I've been a-looking and looking and looking all about, and I can't find her, all I can do." "Well, but, Mr. Brown," said Mr. Smith, "shan't you go and look for the lady again?" "Yes, sir," said he, sitting down, "but I must rest me a little bit first. You can't think how tired I am." "Oh, fie, Mr. Brown, fie!" cried Mr. Smith, winking at us. "Tired of looking for a lady? Go, go, for shame." "So I will, sir, presently, but you'd be tired too if you'd walked so far. Besides, I think she's gone out of the garden, or else I must have seen something or other of her." A hee of the tittering Polly now betrayed her, and so ended this ingenious little artifice. At last appeared Mr. Brangton and Miss Biddy, who, with a face of mixed anger and confusion, addressing herself to me, said, "So, miss, so you ran away from me. Well, see if I don't do as much by you some day or other. But I thought how it would be. No mind to leave the gentleman, though you'd run away from me." I was so much surprised at this attack that I could not answer for her for very amazement, and she proceeded to tell us how ill she had been used, and that two young men had been making her walk up and down the dark walks by absolute force, and as fast as ever they could tear her along, and many other particulars which I will not tire you with relating. In conclusion, looking at Mr. Smith, she said, "But to be sure, thought I, at least all the company will be looking for me, so I little expected to find you all here, talking as comfortably as ever you can. However, I know I might thank my cousin for it." "If you mean me, madam," said I, very much shocked, "I am quite ignorant in what manner I can have been accessory to your distress." "Why, by running away so. If you'd stayed with us, I'll answer for it, Mr. Smith and Monsieur Dubois would have come to look for us, but I suppose they cannot leave your ladyship." The folly and unreasonableness of this speech would admit of no answer. But what a scene was this for Sir Clement! His surprise was evident, and I must acknowledge my confusion was equally great. We had now to wait for young Brangton, who did not appear for some time, and during the interval it was with difficulty that I avoided Sir Clement, who was on the rack of curiosity and dying to speak to me. When at last the hopeful youth returned, a long and frightful quarrel ensued between him and his father.
Just playing with the orange and being rude and just not giving it to me.
Just get a different one out of the fridge, all right? Thank you. You just like the orange, don't you? Do you think it's a ball? It's yummy. Yeah. He nodded his head. He's never done that before. He's like, it was so cute. And you couldn't even say it. How sad. When at last the hopeful youth returned, a long and frightful quarrel ensued between him and his father. Ensued, in which his sisters occasionally joined concerning his neglect, and he defended himself only by a brutal mirth which he indulged at their expense. Everyone now seemed inclined to depart, when, as usual, a dispute arose upon the way of our going, whether in a coach or a boat. After much debating, it was determined that we should make two parties, one by the water and other by land, for Madame Duval declared she would not, upon any account, go into a boat at night. Sir Clement then said that if she had no carriage in waiting, he would be happy to see her and me safe home, as his was in readiness. Fury started into her eyes, and passion inflamed every feature as she answered, "Pardi, no. You may take care of yourself if you please, but as to me, I promise you I shan't trust myself with no such person."
Kane wants mine too.
My goodness, are you waiting for me to come peel it for you?
I want it to be cut.
Oh, you want to cut one? Okay. He pretended not to comprehend her meaning, yet to waive discussion, acquiesced in her refusal. The coach party fixed upon consisted of Madame Duval, Monsieur Dubois, Miss Brangton,
Kane
and
really
myself.
just did that.
My goodness, is he being grumpy?
He's being kind of rude.
Yeah, well, he's a baby, so it's kind of hard for a baby to be rude, but he is grumpy. She's so cute. I now begin to rejoice in private that at least our lodgings would be neither seen nor known by Sir Clement. We soon met with the hackney coach, into which he handed me, and then took leave. Madame Duval having already given the coachman her direction, he mounted the box, and we were just driving off, when Sir Clement explained, "By heaven, this is the very coach I had in waiting for myself." "This coach, your honour," said the man. "No, that ain't it." Sir Clement, however, swore that it was, and presently the man, begging his pardon, said he had really forgotten that he was engaged. I have no doubt but that this scheme occurred to him at the moment, and that he had made some sign to the coachman which induced him to support it, for there is not the least probability that the accident really happened, as it is most likely his own chariot was in waiting.
Oranges with?
It would work.
Okay.
Be careful.
Because it's got really sharp blades.
Yeah, you be very careful with it. Don't cut you. Are you brave enough to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've done it.
You've done it before? Okay. The man then opened the coach door, and Sir Clement, advancing to it, said, "I don't believe there is another carriage to be had, or I would not incommode you, but as it may be disagreeable to you to wait here any longer, I beg you will not get out, for you shall be set down before I am carried home."
It's really so easy with this one. It literally just cuts through it like it's butter.
Oh, nice.
Like, actually.
Yeah, that's how nice
Like
Cutco is, huh?
100%.
100%. She's so cute. I beg you will not get out, for you shall be set down before I am carried home, if you will be so good as to make a little room. And so saying, in he jumps, and seated himself between Monsieur Dubois and me, while our astonishment at the whole transaction was too great for speech. He then ordered the coachman to drive on, according to the directions he had already received. For the first 10 minutes no one uttered a word, and then Madame Duval, no longer able to contain herself, exclaimed, "Ma foi! If this is one of the impudentest things ever I see." Sir Clement, regardless of this rebuke, attended only to me. However, I answered nothing he said when I could possibly avoid so doing. Miss Brangton made several attempts to attract his notice, but in vain, for he would not take the trouble of paying her any regard. Madame Duval, during the rest of the ride, addressed herself to Monsieur Dubois in French, and in that language exclaimed with great vehemence against boldness and assurance. I was extremely glad when I thought our journey must be nearly at an end, for my situation was very uneasy to meet, as Sir Clement perpetually endeavoured to take my hand. I looked out of the coach window to see if we were near home. Sir Clement, stooping over me, did the same, and then in a tone of infinite wonder called out, "Where the devil is the man driving to? Why, we are in Broad St. Giles." "Oh, he's very right," cried Madame Duval. "No, so never trouble your head about that, for I shan't go by no direction of yours, I promise you." When at last we stopped at a hosier's in High Holborn, Sir Clement said nothing, but his eyes, I saw, were very busily employed in viewing the place and the situation of the house. The coach, he said, belonged to him, and therefore he insisted upon paying for it, and then he took leave. Monsieur Dubois walked home with Miss Brangton, and Madame Duval and I retired to our apartments. How disagreeable an evening's adventure! Not one of the party seemed satisfied except Sir Clement, who was in high spirits. But Madame Duval was enraged at meeting with him. Mr. Brangton angry with his children. The frolic of the Miss Brangtons had exceeded their plan, and ended in their own distress. Their brother was provoked that there had been no riot. Mr. Brown was tired, and Mr. Smith mortified. As to myself, I must acknowledge nothing could be more disagreeable to me than being seen by Sir Clement Willoughby with the party at once so vulgar in themselves and so familiar to me. And you too, my dear sir, will, I know, be sorry that I have met him. However, there is no apprehension of his visiting here, as Madame Duval is far too angry to admit him. Okay, well, that was a long chapter. I thought I was going to read two, but that took, we're 45 minutes. That's a long chapter. So we will leave it there, and we will pick up next time and do at least one chapter, maybe two, sometimes three. We never know. We just wing it when we get there. That's how we do it around here. We're just like, what's the word? Impetuous. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying these stories as much as I am. I love to read. I love the books. I love having the connection, especially with all my sweet children who are so far away and I never get to see it. So this is a way for us to get to spend a few minutes sort of together. I appreciate you all, and I will see you next time. Thanks for stopping by the Story Corner for Story Hour with me, the Story Lady. Bye-bye.